Today I will talk about television in general and Blackadder in particular. I just watched again the whole saga, all 4 seasons and plus 2 extras. I must say it's very enjoyable. It's getting more and more enjoyable, obviously, with every season. Season 1 is kind of, one to be missed, I suppose, but season 2 is already pretty good, um, yeah, with obviously some notable companions, so fellow actors, all of whom are playing extremely well, acting extremely well, playing their roles. Well, Hugh Laurie, of course, as George, Prince George in season 2, Lieutenant George in season 4. Um, Complete idiot, but very likable, just like Bojack. I mean, they're all likable. The thing is, except Stephen Fry's Melchett, who is never likable. Everyone else is darling also. I mean, they're all likable. Blackadder is the most likable of them all. He is today, I suppose, in today's world, they would certainly brand him a victim because he is a victim of circumstances. Um, at the end of the whole saga, this final episode, the Millennium episode of Blackadder, he gets finally what he deserves. And that is pretty much everything. He gets the world. He becomes the King of England, Edmund III. Bojack is his prime minister, but he is completely inconsequential, of course. Um, Kate Moss, is his maid Mary, and he becomes his the queen. And eventually, the final song is that he will rule the world. That's the least that he deserves, because he is by far the cleverest person on the planet. And um, in the world of our dreams, in the dream world, the cleverest person becomes an absolute sort of ruler. And that's what he deserves, and that's what he will become. But obviously, per aspera ad astra, his life is never easy. He is a servant in the first 3 seasons. In the fourth, the greatest season, Blackadder goes fourth, about the First World War. He's a captain, and he knows that he'll die. Do we know that he'll die? We don't want to believe this, really. We don't want him to die. We don't want anyone, any of them, to die except the one who doesn't die, and that's General Melchett, played by Stephen Fry. But everyone else dies, and we know that they will die. It's inevitable. It's the First World War. Everyone dies. Life was never the same after the First World War, because the whole generation was just lost. And he talks to George, and George is always cheerful, um, always joyous and gay, sort of in the old and correct sense of this word. And when Blackadder asks him about his buddies, he says, "Oh yes, we all went, straight away to the recruitment center, and all we all got sort of involved in the war from day one, and we wanted to show to show these Bosches, what we were made of." And Edmund asks him, Where are your buddies? And he starts sort of recollecting, George, and uh, realizes he's the only one left. Everyone else was killed already. Stupid war in the trenches, trench war with lies, with dirt, with absolutely the war for absolutely no reason. The Boldrick asks Blackadder, why is this war? Why are we fighting? And Blackadder explains to him that the general belief was that we that there was too much weaponry, and so no one would attack each other. And there was only one little flaw in this plan. And Baldric asks, which is what, sir? And Blackadder says, it was bollocks. The truth is that the war was started not because of some archduke was killed by a guerrilla principe. No, no, of course not. That was just a pretext because there was just exactly too many weapons. Too many weapons means that they will be used. They just had the mind of their own, so to speak, these weapons. And those who were behind them, they wanted to test them. I mean, think about the current, say, Russia-Ukraine war. It's the first war since Second World War, sort of more or less equal um, opponents, adversaries, uh, with sort of reasonably equal, more or less equal uh, weaponry, and it's it's a gold mine. It's a gold mine for all those who want to test weapons. That's why the Americans, for example, provide Ukraine um, with all the newest armaments, not some old crap. No, not at all. They instantly gave them javelins. Think about it. Javelin is um, a super rocket. There is no tank in the world that can withstand a direct hit. Well, there is no indirect hits because it's a smart weapon. It only hits. Well, in fact, it's the other way around. It doesn't hit directly. It gets close to the tank, but since it's a smart weapon, it knows where it's going, and it flies up and then down straight on the hatch. The hatch is never protected well because it's a hatch. The crew needs to evacuate the tank if needed, and consequently the hatch is unprotected, and any javelin rocket or missile um, would destroy the tank and the crew instantly, which makes it a rather um, humane weapon because it kills instantly. There is no suffering really, just kills you. So that's why the states provided Ukraine with javelins straight away. And when the Russians, as they always do, used tanks to storm major cities like Kharkiv or Kiev, well, they got all burnt completely. Just the whole columns were completely destroyed by javelins, and uh, the Bayraktar drones made in Turkey. But the Ukrainians, having superior knowledge of engines, uh, aviation engines, that was their specialty during the Cold War. they changed they don't like they kept the avionics, but they changed all the engines for this Turkish drones. And Elon Musk, by the way, mm, God bless him, provided satellite support for these drones, so they would just hit the tanks straight away. So with these drones and with javelins, Ukraine uh, pretty much destroyed all the Russian tanks. They're now scraping the bottom of the barrel, literally IS-3 tanks from the Second World War. I mean, that's you can't get lower than that. They're really um, um, sending them to the front line. So basically, they've run out of all the modern tanks. At the same time, Ukraine, um, uh, at some point, they decided not to destroy Russian tanks, but to capture them and use for their own use. I mean, same tanks, T-72 BM3, for example, modernized 72 tanks, 72 first built in 1972, but uh, eventually refurbished, and the dynamic um, armor was added to these tanks um, um, to withstand direct hits from RPG, rocket-propelled grenades, which is what Russians have. So Ukrainian tanks, which used to be Russian tanks, they're completely invincible. Well, not completely, but pretty much invincible against Russian RPGs, whilst the same T-72 tanks in the Russian military are completely vulnerable because the javelins just don't care about this additional armor, um, dynamic armor, and just hit these tanks from above. The war is nearly over, by the way. What happened recently, this is kind of important, really, is that um, the the Ukrainians they're not in no hurry whatsoever to retake their lands, because there's nothing on them really. I mean, barren lands. It's just national pride really for them. It's important for the national psyche, of course, to retake these lands, but no piece of land is worth a human life, and that's why they pretty much lose nobody at this stage. They try to end this war with kind of zero casualties, literally. That's why they are in no hurry to advance. But what they did recently was very clever, actually. So the main impediment to their progress is the river Dnieper. Dnieper the Dnieper is a huge, sort of massive, one of the biggest rivers in Europe, and they need to cross it. Well, it's not hard to cross, if you just a soldiers, arrange a few dinghies and you'll be on the other side. But for the heavy equipment, tanks, armored personnel carriers, and such like, it is a problem. Obviously, you cannot. I mean, there are bridges, but they are vulnerable. You cannot use bridges, so you need pontoons. You need to build a pontoon uh, crossing uh, across the Dnieper. And but to do that is also uh, you make yourself vulnerable to the enemy artillery. So, what the Ukrainians did is first they cleared a few islands on the Dnieper at the point that they fenced it, really, in the Kherson region. Um, they placed a few dozen soldiers there, um, including their um, elite Marine Commando troops. And then these commando troops, one starry night over the Dnieper,